Today's topic is living in the Bronx and everything that you need to know before you move. So let's get into it. So from waking up to the sound of the subway to finding the best food on every corner, you might want to know what it's like to live in the Bronx. Well, let me tell you, I've done some extensive research on living in the Bronx. I've lived here the most of my life. I went to school here, graduated from high school in the Bronx. I know it like the back of my hand. And today I'm going to bring to you what it's like to live in the Bronx. Whether you're buying a house or you're selling your house, I'm going to tell you today what it's like to live in the Bronx. But before we get into it, my name is Marc Giles. I'm bringing you this great channel, Westchester, New York City, Connecticut Living. So what I need you to do right now is subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, and you know what? I need you to comment below. Why? Because I want to hear what you have to say that you want to know about. So the Bronx is comprised of about 50 neighborhoods. It's in an area of about 50 miles. There's 1.4 million people living there. And so we have some great aspects of the Bronx that I'm going to share with you. So in one section of the Bronx called Riverdale, you have some very expensive homes where people who have a lot of money might buy mansions. That's right. Some properties are selling for over $3-4 million. Another section of the Bronx is the Pelham Bay section. Now the Pelham Bay has beautiful one-family homes. It has a great huge park, and it also has the beaches, right? You have Orchard Beach in the Bronx. So the Bronx has its own beaches. Another magnificent part of the Bronx is the Fordham section of the Bronx. You have Fordham University, you have Bronx Community College, you have Lehman College. I attended Lehman College, great school. Not to mention the rich culture of the Bronx. You still have the Bronx Zoo, you have the Yankee Stadium, go Yankees. You have the Bronx Botanical Gardens. A lot of fun things to do in the Bronx. So coming in at number 6, let's talk about the housing costs and the vibe of living in the Bronx. So if you're thinking about buying a house, an average one-family house in the Bronx right now is going for about $600,000 to $650,000. What you're going to get is a starter home, might be attached on both sides, might not be attached, but it'll be about 1,500 square feet. But what you'll find is you'll find single-family homes, you'll find townhomes, you'll find apartments. There could be condos or co-ops. The Bronx is saturated with great places to live. Now, some neighborhoods in the Bronx you're going to find are much more expensive. Like in the Riverdale section of the Bronx, you're going to find mansions. These are beautiful mansions that are overlooking the Hudson River. And sometimes these mansions can go for $2, $3, $4 million. That's right. But you're going to get these beautiful homes that if they were in Westchester, the price would be more than double. Then if you travel down to the Mott Haven section of the Bronx, you're going to find these tall, beautiful buildings that were built within the last 5 to 10 years. Now, these buildings are luxury apartment buildings. Some of them have penthouses and they're skyscrapers. So especially for those who are about that arts and culture, you're going to find a lot of that lifestyle in that section of the Bronx. That's the Mott Haven section. That's right. The Bronx is packed with character and there's something for everybody, different vibes. In the Fordham section of the Bronx, over by Little Italy, you're going to find a lot of outdoor cafes where you can sit out there, sip your coffee, and enjoy the day. So the Bronx is a place where creativity and community come together to make the Bronx a great place to live. So moving on to number 5, let's talk about the transportation in the Bronx. So when you're living in the Bronx, what happens is a lot of people who live in the Bronx travel to Manhattan every day to go to work. On the east side of the Bronx, you have the MTA, which has 3 train systems, the 4, 5, and 6 trains. And then on the west side of the Bronx, you have the number 1 train, the B and the D trains. So you have 6 trains that are taking people commuting down to Manhattan every day. Now, if you're heading north from the Bronx, you can take the Metro North Railroad. Now with the Metro North, it starts at the Grand Central Station in Manhattan, has one stop on 125th Street, and then it goes through the Bronx all the way up to Hudson Valley in New York State, and also all the way up to Connecticut. You can go all the way as far as New Haven, Connecticut. And if you're living in the Mott Haven section, LaGuardia Airport is a few miles away. Now, if you need an international flight, John F. Kennedy Airport is only about 15 miles away. So you can literally hop on a train from wherever you are in the Bronx, going down to 125th Street, hop on a bus that will take you to LaGuardia Airport, or if you go down to Grand Central, you hop on the AirTran, that takes you straight out to JFK. You do not need a car if you're living in the Bronx. Okay, coming in at number 4, let's talk about the school systems in the Bronx. I worked in the school system in the Bronx for a number of years, and I can tell you there's a strong effort to always improve the school system. Nothing's perfect, we all know that. However, there are some great schools in the Bronx, like the Bronx High School of Science focuses on STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. and the school is committed to turning out some of the greatest minds in education from the Bronx. The Bronx also has a number of charter schools. Charter schools are funded with public money. If you want to find out more about the charter schools, I suggest you do a little investigating in that. Educate yourself about the education in the Bronx. No matter what school your children go to, make sure you keep tabs on that, because you can get some great opportunities for your children to learn in the Bronx. But you got to stay on top of it and be aware of what they're learning and participate. Attend the PTA school meetings and get involved, because the schools are only as good as us who participate with our children's education. Moving on to number 3, let's talk about taxes and other costs of living in the Bronx. Is it expensive to live in the Bronx? Yes. If you compare it to the national average, without a doubt, the Bronx is very expensive to live. Let's talk about property taxes for a second. If you're buying a house in the Bronx, compare that to Westchester or Long Island, you're going to find that the price that you paid for that house is going to require less property taxes than you would have to pay in Westchester and the Bronx, sometimes half. So if you bought a $600,000 house in the Bronx and you compare that to the taxes that a $600,000 house would cost you in Long Island or Westchester, most parts of Jersey, you're going to find that the taxes that you're paying, the annual property taxes, are about half of what you would pay elsewhere. Why is that? The reason is because in Westchester, you're paying for the school taxes as well as the town and city taxes. In the Bronx, most of the school taxes are given by the state of New York. So when you're paying your taxes in New York, you're just paying for your municipal costs, for the sanitation, for the street lights to come on, things like that. All right, let's talk about number 2. What is the weather like in the Bronx, New York? Okay, if you're living in the Bronx, New York, you got 4 seasons, and they are beautiful seasons, I gotta admit. I've been living here all my life, and I'm gonna tell you, right now it's winter time, it's cold. It's about 20 degrees outside right now, but it's still beautiful. The skies are clear most days, and we get snow, but not a lot of snow. When it snows heavy, that's a special time, but we'll get light snow most of the season. Then what will happen is we're gonna get maybe 2, maybe 3 instances where it's 12 feet of snow. But other than that, it's a beautiful place to live in, even in the wintertime. So right around March 21st is when the springtime kicks in, and that's when the leaves start coming back on the trees. That's when you want to start planting your seeds to let your vegetation grow, because they have some beautiful foliage and some landscapes that look great in the springtime. You can see the flowers growing, start to blooming, and it is beautiful. The summertime, you're definitely gonna have your air conditioner on, because the temperatures are gonna range between 70 on a really nice cool day, all the way up to 90 on a hot day. And sometimes you have these heat waves, and also sometimes we have droughts in New York City, and there'll be a water shortage, so you can't even water your lawn sometimes. However, for the most part, you're gonna have a nice balance of rain and sunshine throughout the summer. And of course, in the fall time, that's when the leaves start falling off the tree again, and you have these beautiful colors on all of the trees and the leaves as you're driving. And while that's taking place, you can always visit the Bronx Botanical Gardens, because over there, they're gonna show you how it works with the foliage in every season, and they educate you, and you can take your kids there. You can spend a whole day there. The Bronx Botanical Gardens is something special to see. All right, let's get into number 1, the shopping scene in the Bronx. Now, I have a lot of opinions here because I grew up in the Bronx, and I know when we were younger, we always had to travel outside of the Bronx to go shopping. Shopping in the Bronx is incredible. Why? Because you can pretty much buy anything you want at any time, night or day, 24/7, 365. There's restaurants, there's stores, whether you want to buy clothing, furniture, whatever you can come to mind, you can go out and purchase it at any time. In fact, there's 3 Home Depot superstores just to service the Bronx. And if you're living in America, you know that these superstores are huge. And most of them are open till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. You have other huge department stores, like you have a Macy's and the Co-op City section of the Bronx. Co-op City is filled with co-ops, and they have their own Bay Plaza. And Bay Plaza has been built up over the years. So in Bay Plaza, you can pretty much just buy anything you want. There's plenty of free parking, and there's also paid parking for people who want to be really close to the stores. You have your Starbucks restaurants, you have everything right there. You can spend a whole day in Bay Plaza buying whatever you want. So if you want to go on a shopping spree, the Bronx might be a great place to go shopping. Now let's get into our bonus tip. Today I want to talk to you about a mortgage that is special. It's called a reverse mortgage. Now you don't have to be over 62 to listen to this, but you do have to be over 62 to get the reverse mortgage. A lot of people are living like, for example, in Big Mama's house, grandma's house, and she has the house. She's over 62, she's getting older, and we're all concerned. You know what grandma's number one priority normally is she wants to stay in her house. But the problem with these houses is they're falling apart. They need new windows, they need new roof, they need a lot of work done to them. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions of the reverse mortgage is that you're gonna lose your house to the government. That's the furthest thing from the truth. The government doesn't want your house. The bank doesn't want your house. What they want you to do is stay in your house and pay your mortgage. However, FHA, which is a government agency, has created this entity, this mortgage called the reverse mortgage. It's designed for seniors to be able to stay in their house. What it does for the senior is two things. Number one, it can create a situation where they do not have to make a mortgage payment anymore. That's right. So it lowers their expenses and it becomes a supplement to their retirement income, enabling them to not have as much expenses and then stay in their house. The second thing the reverse mortgage does for an elderly person is it can give them cash. It's all based on the value of their house and their age. You do have to apply and qualify to get approved for it. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get the mortgage, but I'll tell you what, we've helped a lot of people who looked like they couldn't qualify for any mortgage and they were eligible to get a reverse mortgage. So once again, the reverse mortgage is a supplement to your elderly person's retirement income so that they can remain in the house. When a person dies, the house has to go through a probate process. And oftentimes, if this process turns out to be long and dragged out because family members are fighting, the bank cannot wait. And so often the bank will initiate foreclosure or the family will just turn the house over to the bank. To avoid that situation, what we often recommend putting your house into a trust. This way, when the elderly person dies, it doesn't have to go through probate court. What happens is it just goes through this trust and goes to the beneficiary of the trust, which could be the son or the daughter or whoever elderly person designates as the beneficiary of the trust. If you need more information about that, comment below, text me, direct message me, call me. I'm always here. I'll make sure you get an attorney who can answer many of your questions and you can move right in and take care of grandma. Or if you are grandma or grandpa, you give me a call and I'll make sure you're taken care of as well. That's it for today's show. I want to thank you for watching. Please comment below. I got 2 more great videos right here I want you to check out. Once again, this is Marc Giles bringing you Living in Westchester, the Bronx, and Connecticut. Talk to you soon.